her to go home. I'm happy for her.
I want to thank each and every one of y'all for helping me get this far.
There are very few reality TV stars who have managed to capture hearts, tears, and attention quite like Amy Slaton. From the very first episode of 1000 Del B Sisters, viewers connected with her raw honesty, humor, and humanity. Amy was never a polished celebrity. She was real, emotional, and unfiltered. Fans didn't just watch her. They felt her. They saw her as a friend, a sister, a mother, and a woman brave enough to open up her life for the world to see. When Amy and Tammy first appeared on screen, they were two sisters from Kentucky, bound by love and burdened by their lifelong struggle with obesity. But as the cameras rolled, it became clear this show was about far more than weight loss. It was about survival, sisterhood, and self-discovery. Amy's laughter, tears, and vulnerability made her not just a TV personality, but a symbol of resilience for millions. Yet behind that familiar smile, a more complicated story was quietly unfolding, one the cameras never captured. Over the years, Amy's journey became the beating heart of TLC's success. 1000 Del B Sisters exploded in popularity, pulling in millions of viewers worldwide. Every chapter of Amy's life played out for the public: her marriage, her pregnancies, her struggles, her growth. Each season brought both joy and heartbreak. But as fans celebrated her victories, the reality behind the scenes grew increasingly tense. According to insiders close to the Slaton family, problems had been brewing for months. Amy was becoming frustrated with the network, not over fame or attention, but over trust, fairness, and respect. The tension reached a breaking point when Amy reportedly discovered that TLC had withheld $60,000 from her promised Season 8 salary. For someone who had given her life and emotions to the show, this wasn't just about money. It was about betrayal. Amy had been led to believe her pay would increase, a reward for the years she carried the show on her shoulders. After all, fans didn't just tune in for drama. They tuned in for Amy. Her authenticity and warmth were the core of the series. But when that promise allegedly went unfulfilled, Amy's faith in the network shattered. What had once been a partnership now felt like exploitation. Behind the laughter and edited episodes, heated phone calls and tense meetings became common. Amy's patience wore thin. She felt unheard, undervalued, and overexposed. Meanwhile, fans began to sense something was off. Her tone on social media changed. Fewer smiles, fewer filming updates, more cryptic messages about trust and self-worth. Online forums buzzed with speculation. Was Amy in conflict with TLC? Was something happening behind the scenes? The rumors weren't far off. According to sources, Amy's frustration stemmed not just from money, but from control. She reportedly felt her real story, her growth as a woman and mother, is being overshadowed by the network's desire for shock and spectacle. Her genuine struggles were being repackaged into cliffhangers and sensational headlines. And when she voiced her concerns, executives allegedly brushed them aside. Feeling dismissed and disrespected, Amy began exploring legal options. For her, this wasn't about greed. It was about dignity. She had sacrificed her privacy for years, sharing tears, fears, and triumphs only to feel like her life was being edited and sold without her voice being heard. Negotiations between Amy and TLC reportedly turned tense. The network wanted her to continue under the same contract. Amy wanted fairness and creative input. When her requests were ignored, she made the decision that stunned everyone. She cut ties with TLC completely. According to those close to the situation, Amy's final words to the executives were calm but firm. She made it clear she would no longer compromise her values for fame or a paycheck. After years of smiling through the pain, she was finally saying no. The reaction was immediate and explosive. TLC was blindsided. Season 8, already in early development, was abruptly canceled. Production crews were told to stop work, schedules were cleared, and months of planning vanished overnight. A major hit in TLC's lineup was suddenly gone. When the news leaked online, chaos erupted. Fans flooded Twitter, TikTok, and Reddit with shock and outrage. Within hours, Hashtags like hashtag free Amy Slaton, hashtag TLC scandal, and hashtag cancel TLC began trending. Viewers who had followed Amy's story from day one were furious. They accused the network of exploiting her struggles for years while refusing to give her the respect she earned. Petitions calling for TLC to pay Amy what she was owed quickly gathered signatures. Others vowed to boycott the network altogether, calling their treatment of Amy unethical and manipulative. The outpouring of support was massive. Thousands of fans thanked Amy for standing her ground, calling her a role model for anyone who's ever been taken advantage of. But beyond the headlines and hashtags, Amy's decision carried a deep emotional cost. This show wasn't just her job, it was her life. It had documented her most personal moments, from the joy of becoming a mother to the heartbreak of family struggles. Walking away wasn't just a career move. It was saying goodbye to a part of herself. Sources close to Amy described sleepless nights, emotional conversations with family, and moments of doubt. She confided in her sister Tammy and loved ones, questioning what the future would look like. There was fear of losing income, of disappointing fans, of stepping into the unknown. But there was also relief. For the first time in years, Amy could breathe freely, without cameras capturing every intimate detail of her life. Despite the pain, one thing became clear. Amy wasn't walking away in defeat. She was walking toward freedom. By leaving TLC, Amy sent a message that resonated far beyond the show. She proved that no amount of money or fame is worth your peace of mind. Her decision wasn't just personal, it was symbolic. It represented every reality TV personality who has ever felt trapped, undervalued, or edited into a version of themselves they no longer recognized. And then came the rebirth. With TLC in the rearview, Amy began looking at new horizons. Free from contractual restrictions, she could finally create on her own terms. Insiders say she's been in talks with independent streaming platforms, YouTube channels, and even documentary producers interested in telling her true story her way. She's also exploring personal projects that align with her creative vision and values. Focusing on positivity, motherhood, and authenticity, the love from fans has been nothing short of overwhelming. Messages have poured in from across the globe, from mothers who relate to her struggles to young fans who see her as proof that standing up for yourself is possible. The emotional connection she built with her audience hasn't disappeared. If anything, it's stronger than ever. While the end of 1000 Delby Sisters is bittersweet, many see it as a new beginning, not just for Amy, but for reality TV as a whole. Her stand has opened conversations about transparency, fair pay, and how networks handle their stars. For years, reality TV has blurred the line between storytelling and exploitation. Amy's exit has forced people to confront that truth. Her courage has made her more than a former TLC star. It's made her a voice for change. She's showing the world that you don't have to stay silent when you're being mistreated. You don't have to let others define your worth. Even though Amy's journey with TLC has ended, her story is far from over. In many ways, it's only just beginning. She's now focused on rebuilding her career, independently producing her own content, connecting directly with fans, and embracing her newfound creative freedom. Those close to her describe her as optimistic, driven, and hopeful. Yes, it's uncertain. Yes, it's risky. But for Amy, it's liberating. Industry insiders believe her next moves could completely redefine her career. Without TLC's control, Amy now has the power to reshape her image from a reality TV subject to an independent creator. She has the platform, the fan base, and most importantly, the authenticity to make it happen. And as she closes this chapter, she leaves behind a legacy far greater than any TV show. Her decision has become a defining moment, a symbol of strength, independence, and self-respect. For her fans, Amy's courage is a reminder that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is walk away. So while season 8 may never air, Amy Slaton's story is far from finished. It continues not through the lens of a network, but through her own. A story of resilience, courage, and rebirth. Because for Amy, this isn't the end. It's the beginning of something far greater. A life defined not by contracts or ratings, but by authenticity, freedom, and self-worth. And that's a story
The ideal Amanda had because she doesn't want to be held accountable.
She does not have the mentality that you got to take the good.
There are very few reality television stars who have managed to capture hearts quite like Amy Slaton. From the very first moments of 1000 Delby Sisters, audiences were drawn to her warmth, her humor, and her remarkable honesty. Amy wasn't the kind of celebrity who built a wall between herself and her fans. She was open, imperfect, and real. People didn't just watch her, they rooted for her. They laughed when she laughed, cried when she cried, and saw themselves reflected in her fight for health, family, and happiness. When Amy and her sister, Tammy, first appeared on TLC, they were two women from Kentucky bound by a powerful sisterly love and a shared struggle. The show began as a story about weight loss, but over time, it became something much deeper. A raw and emotional journey about courage, redemption, and survival. Amy's resilience and vulnerability made her the emotional heart of the series, the reason millions tuned in each week. But behind that familiar smile and upbeat personality, a much more complicated story was unfolding. As the seasons went on, One Susu LV Sisters became one of TLC's most successful franchises, drawing huge audiences and countless viral moments. Viewers saw Amy's wedding, her pregnancies, her emotional highs, and devastating lows. But while fans saw a devoted mother and a woman rebuilding her life, insiders say Amy was growing increasingly unhappy with what was happening behind the scenes. According to multiple sources close to the Slaton family, tension between Amy and TLC had been building for months. It wasn't about fame or attention, it was about fairness, respect, and control. Amy reportedly discovered that TLC had withheld $60,000 from her expected Season 8 payment. A betrayal that hit deeply after years of loyalty and devotion. To Amy, this wasn't just a financial issue, it was personal. She had given her life to this show, her time, her tears, her motherhood, and her privacy. Every moment she shared was genuine. To feel cheated by the very people she trusted most was more painful than any storyline the cameras could ever capture. The tension grew quietly but steadily. Behind the smiles on social media were sleepless nights and heated phone calls. Amy had repeatedly raised concerns about her contract, about her creative control, and about the way the network portrayed her story. But instead of listening, executives allegedly brushed off her worries with vague promises. The withheld payment became the final straw the moment Amy realized she had to take a stand. When the news finally broke that Amy had cut ties with TLC, it was like a tidal wave across social media. Fans woke up to headlines that didn't seem real. The woman they had followed for nearly a decade was leaving the show that made her famous. By morning, hashtags like #FreeAmySlaton, #CancelTLC, and #AmyVsTLC dominated trending charts worldwide. The reaction was fierce and emotional. On Twitter, fans accused TLC of exploitation and greed. Amy gave them everything. One tweet read, "And they repaid her with betrayal." Instagram was flooded with posts expressing shock and heartbreak. On TikTok, creators made tearful reaction videos and montages celebrating Amy's journey, demanding justice for the star who had given them years of authenticity. It wasn't just about $60,000. It was about years of dedication and the bond between Amy and her audience. Viewers who had seen her grow, love, and struggle felt personally wronged. Many called for TLC to issue a public apology, while others vowed to boycott the network entirely. The story exploded far beyond entertainment news. It became a cultural moment, sparking a larger conversation about how reality TV stars are treated once the cameras stop rolling. Behind the viral outrage was a very human story. Those close to Amy described the weeks leading up to her departure as some of the most emotionally draining of her life. She reportedly spent long nights talking to her sister Tammy and consulting lawyers, weighing the consequences of leaving the show that had defined nearly 10 years of her life. It wasn't an easy decision. Amy knew what walking away meant. lost income, uncertain opportunities, and the risk of disappointing her fans. But she also knew what staying would cost her: peace of mind, creative freedom, and self-respect. In the end, Amy chose herself. Industry insiders were stunned. It's rare for a reality TV star to walk away from a hit show, especially when it's still making money. But Amy wasn't acting out of anger. Those close to her say her decision came from a place of empowerment. She was tired of being edited into a character instead of being seen as a real person. She wanted to tell her story her way, without producers twisting her emotions for drama or networks profiting from her pain. When word spread that 1000 LB Sisters Season 8 had been officially canceled after her exit, fans were devastated. The show had become a comfort for millions, a symbol of perseverance, family, and second chances. But for Amy, ending it was necessary. It wasn't about destroying what she'd built. It was about reclaiming ownership of her life. In the days that followed, the internet became a memorial to Amy's time on TLC. Fans shared their favorite moments, her laughter, her tears, her fierce love for her children, but they also celebrated her bravery. Comments poured in. She's teaching us that peace is worth more than money. Amy standing up for every person who's ever been taken advantage of. TLC messed with the wrong sister. Tammy Slaton, Amy's sister and longtime co-star, added her voice to the growing wave of support. On Instagram, she posted, "Amy has always put our family first. Now she's finally putting herself first. I'm proud of her. TLC should have treated her better." The post went viral within hours, resonating with thousands of fans who admired the sisters' unbreakable bond. But as the dust began to settle, attention shifted to Amy's next chapter. What would she do now that she was free from network control? According to insiders, Amy has been exploring a variety of new opportunities, and this time, she holds all the power. Without TLC dictating her every move, she's considering launching her own independent projects. Talks have reportedly begun with streaming platforms, YouTube producers, and documentary filmmakers who want to collaborate on a more authentic retelling of her journey, one that's raw, real, and entirely her own. Friends say Amy is also interested in creating content that inspires others, wellness projects, lifestyle videos, maybe even a memoir. With her enormous fan base and reputation for sincerity, she doesn't need a network to connect with people anymore. Brands and collaborators are lining up to work with her, not to exploit her story, but to amplify her voice. For Amy, this moment marks a transformation. After years of being shaped by producers and contracts, she's finally in charge of her narrative. She's using her pain as power, turning what could have been a scandal into a story of self-worth and resilience. Entertainment insiders are calling her decision groundbreaking. One producer told reporters Amy Slaton is setting a precedent. She's proving that reality TV stars have leverage, that they deserve respect, not exploitation. Others believe her stand could inspire major changes in how networks treat talent, especially those who share their most vulnerable moments for public consumption. Because Amy's story isn't just about television. It's about what happens when a woman decides she's had enough. Enough of being controlled, enough of being underpaid, enough of letting others profit from her truth. It's about reclaiming dignity in an industry that often strips it away. Even as she moves on, Amy hasn't forgotten her fans. On live streams and small updates, she's expressed gratitude for the endless messages of support. She's promised that her journey is far from over. It's simply taking a new path. And her followers believe her. After all, Amy has never been one to give up. Every time life knocked her down, she came back stronger. This moment is no different. For years, 1000 LB Sisters gave audiences a front row seat to Amy's evolution, from struggle to strength, from doubt to confidence. Now she's writing the next chapter herself, without producers, without restrictions, and without fear. Her story has already begun to ripple beyond television. Advocacy groups have cited Amy's experience in ongoing discussions about fair pay, mental health, and ethical standards in reality TV. Experts say her bold exit could lead to reforms in how contracts are structured, ensuring stars receive fair compensation and creative input. But for Amy, this isn't about legal victories or headlines. It's about peace. It's about finally being able to wake up without worrying what tomorrow's script will demand of her. About spending time with her children without cameras following every step. About rediscovering joy away from the spotlight. This decision, as painful and public as it's been, represents freedom. And that's something no amount of money could buy. As one longtime fan wrote online, Amy Slaton taught us that strength isn't just about losing weight. It's about knowing when to walk away. And that's exactly what she did. So, while 1002 LB Sisters may have come to an end, Amy's story is still being written, this time on her own terms. She's no longer just the woman who let cameras into her life. She's a mother, a survivor, and now a trailblazer for every reality star who dreams of breaking free. This isn't a goodbye, it's a rebirth. For Amy Slaton, the next chapter is not about ratings or contracts. It's about authenticity, freedom, and self-worth. And in a world obsessed with scripted drama, that kind of realness is the most powerful story of
I got approved. God dang, where's the...
It wasn't just about the missing $60,000. It was about years of devotion, loyalty, and a bond that had been built between a star and her audience, one that couldn't be measured in contracts or ratings. The news of Amy Slaton's separation from TLC struck like a tidal wave, spreading through social media, fan pages, and entertainment forums with unstoppable force. Overnight, the story became more than gossip. It became a movement. Fans who had followed Amy since her first days on screen were left stunned, scrolling through endless posts of disbelief, confusion, and anger. The betrayal didn't just feel like it happened to Hurt, felt like it happened to them. By the next morning, social media was ablaze. Hashtags like #FreeAmySlaton, #CancelledTLC, and #AmyV's TLC-filled timelines. Fans were furious. Some demanded justice, others expressed heartbreak, and countless voices echoed one unified sentiment: Amy deserved better. Memes, reaction videos, and emotional tributes flooded platforms, amplifying the story far beyond what the network ever anticipated. One viral tweet read, "Amy gave TLC her life. Years of vulnerability, pain, and growth, and this is how they repay her. $60,000 and silence." The outrage spread faster than wildfire, turning Amy's personal struggle into a public reckoning with the entire reality TV industry. But as the days passed, more details began to surface. Insiders close to the Slaton family began to speak out, painting a picture of months filled with broken promises and behind-the-scenes tension. Amy had repeatedly raised concerns about her compensation, creative control, and the direction the show was taking. She wanted honesty. She wanted respect. But what she received instead was a pattern of dismissive replies, postponed payments, and mounting frustration. When the $60,000 she was owed never arrived, it was more than a financial slight was the final straw. Behind the cameras, Amy had already begun to feel trapped. The woman who once found empowerment through sharing her story now felt suffocated by it. Each episode demanded more drama, more tears, more pieces of her private life. What started as a journey toward health and happiness had turned into a spectacle of ratings and manipulation. When she finally confronted producers, her concerns were brushed aside. Promises were made to sort it out. But weeks turned into months, and nothing changed. The withheld money wasn't an accident, it was a symbol of how little value they placed on her humanity. Then came the ultimate shock. TLC canceled season 8. No warning, no explanation, just a sudden halt. For fans who had waited eagerly to see the next chapter of Amy and Tammy's story, the news hit hard. Viewers felt cheated, confused, and heartbroken. "This can't be how it ends," one fan wrote in disbelief. After everything Amy's been through, she deserves closure, not corporate silence. Online conspiracy theories grew. Some claimed TLC had canceled the show out of spite, a punishment for Amy daring to challenge their authority. Others believed it was a calculated move to silence her before she could expose what was really going on behind the scenes. Industry insiders began weighing in, calling Amy's departure unprecedented. Few reality stars ever walk away from a successful franchise, especially one still making money. But Amy's choice was different. It wasn't about Fumette, it was about freedom. For nearly a decade, she had been defined by others, producers shaping her story, editors controlling her image, executives deciding what parts of her life were worth showing. Now, she was reclaiming the narrative, taking back the power that had been slowly stripped from her. Those close to her described the weeks leading up to the decision as some of the hardest of her life. Late-night calls with Tammy, emotional talks with family, long meetings with lawyers and advisors. For Amy, the question was simple but painful. Stay and endure the mistreatment for the sake of stability, or walk away and risk everything for her peace of mind. In the end, she chose herself. And that single act of self-respect changed everything. When the official announcement hit the internet, Amy remained quiet for days. No press release, no dramatic statement, just silence. And in that silence, fans saw strength. Supporters flooded her posts with messages of love, solidarity, and pride. "Amy, you taught us that no one should let others control their story," one wrote. Another said, "You stood up for yourself, and in doing so, you stood up for everyone who's ever been taken advantage of." Meanwhile, TLC faced one of the biggest PR storms in recent memory. The backlash was immediate and merciless. Comment sections filled with accusations of greed, exploitation, and hypocrisy. The network's attempts to downplay the issue only made things worse. Viewers began boycotting other shows, demanding transparency and accountability. Petitions calling for justice for Amy gathered tens of thousands of signatures in a matter of hours. Behind the scenes, other reality TV personalities began speaking out anonymously, hinting that Amy's experience wasn't unique. Stories emerged of underpaid stars, manipulated storylines, and networks prioritizing profit over people. Amy's decision had struck a nerve in doing so. She had opened the door to a conversation that reality TV had avoided for far too long. Through it all, Amy remained grounded. She leaned on her family, especially Tammy, whose public support meant the world. Tammy's words on Instagram, "Amy has always put family first, and now she's finally putting herself first. I'm proud of her," resonated deeply with fans. The sisters had always been the heart of 1,000 Delby sisters. And even through the chaos, their bond remained unshakable. For Amy, leaving TLC wasn't just an exit, was a rebirth. After years of letting others frame her story, she finally had the chance to tell it her way. Close friends revealed she had been exploring new ventures, projects that allowed her to connect directly with her audience without filters or restrictions. Streaming platforms, YouTube channels, and independent documentaries were all on the table. For the first time, Amy had creative freedom. She could share her journey, her truth, without worrying about ratings or corporate interference. Fans rallied behind every whisper of her next move. Some speculated that she was developing a personal lifestyle series focusing on motherhood, mental health, and self-love. Others hoped for a podcast or book deal where Amy could open up in her own voice. Regardless of what form it took, one thing was certain: the world still wanted to hear from Amy Slaton. She wasn't just a TV personality anymore. She had become a symbol of resilience, courage, and self-worth. As her story evolved, so did the public's understanding of what it means to be a reality star. People began questioning the price of fame, the emotional toll of constant exposure, and the ethics of networks profiting from pain. Amy's experience forced viewers to confront uncomfortable truths about the entertainment industry, the way real people's lives are edited, packaged, and sold for profit. She had spent years giving everything to the camera, and when the lights finally dimmed, she realized that the real show was just beginning, the story of her reclaiming herself. In the months following her departure, Amy's confidence seemed to bloom again. Her social media presence shifted from guarded posts to honest, uplifting updates. She shared moments of joy with her children, messages about mental health, and glimpses of her new life beyond TLC. Each post felt like a declaration. She was free. Fans responded with overwhelming love, celebrating not just her strength, but her authenticity. For them, Amy wasn't a fallen reality star. She was a survivor who had faced the system and refused to be broken by it. Industry analysts predict that Amy's stand may change how reality TV contracts are negotiated in the future. Her decision to walk away despite the financial loss set a precedent. It reminded the world that no one, no matter how famous, should ever feel trapped by a network that profits from their pain. In doing so, she not only protected her own dignity, but inspired countless others in the industry to demand fairness and respect. Now, as rumors swirl about her next steps, one thing is clear. Amy Slaton is no longer a story written by others. She's the author of her own. Whether she returns through a new platform, launches her own project, or steps away from the spotlight entirely, she has already won something far more valuable than fame: control over her life and peace in her heart. The same woman who once stood in front of millions, bearing her struggles and vulnerabilities, now stands taller than ever, defined not by a network, not by a paycheck, but by her courage. Her journey from heartbreak to empowerment has become a mirror for her fans, a reminder that sometimes the hardest battles lead to the most powerful rebirths. And as the noise of social media fades, one truth remains undeniable. Amy Slaton didn't lose her platform. She reclaimed her purpose. She walked away not in defeat, but in triumph, proving that strength isn't measured by contracts or cameras, it's measured by the courage to stand up, walk away, and